Welcome back, everyone, to episode 11 of the Jader and Kyle show. It's been a fun journey so far, Jader. We have a lot planned for today. We're kind of excited for this episode. We're talking about Quentin Tarantino a lot, one of our favorite filmmakers.
Yes.
But Jader, you ready to have some fun, man? We got a couple of interesting things to talk about.
I'm ready to go, man. Let's go.
We're not alone here this week, though. At the Jader and Kyle show, we like to bring guests on, and we're back with our first return guest. It's John Kaiser. Kaiser, welcome back to the show.
You know, if you're going to talk Tarantino, there might be two guys. You get Schneider for sure, but then I'd be the next guy you get to talk about Tarantino flicks.
Well, I mean, he's like everyone's favorite filmmaker, it feels like, at least top five.
He's literally the reason I went to film school. It was like that magical year when like Clerks and Reservoir Dogs was coming out. Well, it was more like a decade, I guess, of cool indie films. All the Jim Jarmusch films were blowing up, and I saw Pulp Fiction 11 times in the theater when I was in college, like the nerd I am, and changed my life, man. All I wanted to do was make gangster epics.
Really, and it feels like he's jumped into. He does what we want to do: is create original films in all the genres you can think of. You know, he's done westerns and gangster dramas and slasher films. It's been really fun to go through his filmography, but we'll get to that coming up. We had a couple of news segments we wanted to hit on. The first one is the Oscars. There's new Oscar rules that came out. And the Academy came out recently and said that they're going to be pushing back the ceremony to April and extending the eligibility deadline to the end of February. So now all the films from January of 2020 all the way to February 2021 can qualify for the 2021 Oscars. When you guys hear that news, would you like it? Do you not like it? What are your thoughts about these new eligibility rules?
Get our guest first if he wants to talk first.
Well, I think we live in a different world now, so I don't see any harm in giving people more time to get their films released and in order. And why I don't think it's a big deal. Is there pushback?
Yeah, there is pushback. My thing with it is it feels like you're kind of disregarding the films that already came out this year. Stuff like
Good point.
The Invisible Man. I thought Elizabeth Moss was great in that movie. The Way Back, I thought Ben Affleck was amazing in that
You're
movie.
worried people are going to forget about those films and get all excited about the new crop.
Right. It feels like the Academy said, yeah, those movies are good, but they're not really Oscar movies. So let's give the other Oscar movies more time to get their films out so that they can qualify for this upcoming ceremony. When I think the Academy had an opportunity here to really dive in and, you know, share the love with all these other films that came out. You know, like people like the joke Bad Boys for Life would, you know, get nominated for an Oscar. Jader wants to win.
I've been wanting Bad Boys for Life to get an Oscar nomination, man.
Jader, what are your thoughts on this, though?
Honestly, I mean, it is what it is. We live, like Kaiser said, we do live in different times right now. I feel that in the times that we're living in, there hasn't been that many movies come out, unfortunately, you know, and I might joke and kid obviously about Bad Boys. And, you know, as much as I did love Elizabeth Moss, I didn't love Invisible Man, but I did love her.
I got to see that movie. I've only heard great things.
Yeah. No. It's a good film. Actually, I went on a Lee Winnell. I saw all Insidious films yesterday. And I saw The Nun last night. I saw a bunch of horror yesterday just because of the climate that we've had. We've had rain, and, you know, it was just felt like the right time to. And my girlfriend's never seen any Insidious or you know, she's seen very few horrors, so I felt like watching them yesterday. But he did a great job, I feel, on his take with Invincible Man. But going back to the Oscars, I feel that. There hasn't been there's not going to be that many movies out, you get me? So I feel like we should give some of the Oscar movies a little bit of an opportunity. You know, the people are going into production again as of now. Right now. It's been a couple weeks, maybe like 2-3 weeks since they started going back into production. So I'm not against it. I don't know why people would be, especially the crazy wonky year that we've had so far. I feel like, you know, everything's being handled as best as they could. And we're actually getting an Oscars, because I was actually thinking that everything was just going to be canceled. At the end of everything, I didn't think we were going to get anything. So I'm happy we are getting something. I do look forward to the Oscars. It's honestly, we're all sports guys here. I can't even say it's my Super Bowl, but I do feel like what Super Bowl is to certain people, this is to me. As much as I do love Super Bowl and sports and all that, I love the Oscars. So it's something I look forward to every year, and I'm glad we're still getting it amidst all the bullshit we've been going through. So
is the what was the Bulls documentary on 30 for 30 called? Remind me.
Last Dance.
The Last Dance.
You know, I don't know if that's eligible for a documentary Academy Award, but that's the best thing I've seen so far this year in any genre.
So the Academy came out and said that as good as it was, that it's not eligible because it was never going to go to theaters. And I guess
too bad.
go to theaters to do that. Yeah, it is too bad. But if you think about what's coming out this year, we already have a Nolan film coming out. We have a Denis Villeneuve film coming out. Wes Anderson. David.
Wait, what is Villeneuve making?
Dune.
Oh, right, Dune.
Yeah, dude, that's still coming out this year.
Yep.
Okay.
Spielberg's got a film coming out this year, so it feels like we had a good crop of films coming out. So I mean, I guess you're gonna give some films more time. I just don't want to see like the stuff that we talked about earlier. Spike Lee's film The Five Bloods. I don't want to see it get forgotten about coming up.
I don't think it will. I don't think The Five Bloods will. I haven't seen it. Yet. It was supposed to be on the agenda. I got to King of Staten Island though. I did see that movie.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
we'll review it. We'll review it soon. But I didn't get to The Five Bloods. I'm hearing mixed reviews. To be honest with you, I'm hearing a lot of people saying that it's overrated, and a lot of people saying how amazing it is. So obviously, like all film, it's all subjective. There's some things that people are gonna love. Some people are gonna feel like it's overhyped. But I don't feel like Spike Lee is in the Oscar talk. So I don't think he will be forgotten, to be completely honest with you. But I haven't seen the film, so I can't really plug.
The trailer looks good. The trailer looks like a fun one. We'll see.
Well, I know Kyle saw it already.
I feel Spike is hit or miss for me. When I love him, and when I feel like he misses. But I feel Do the Right Thing could be one of the best films in the last 50 years. So I'm a fan.
We actually had Janine on the show, and we reviewed the film with her. That was fun, dude. That was a lot of fun.
We'll see.
And one other news thing we want to hit on too is movie theaters are now starting to reopen. You just had AMC come out yesterday and announce that they're going to be opening July 15th with a bunch of protocols in place. You have Regal coming out saying they're going to reopen. I have a theater here in Florida that's just opened today.
With no mask policy?
So what happened was with AMC at least, they had go ahead, Jader.
No, I was going to say that was the original, when they originally released the news, which was, I think, yesterday that I read that, they had a no mask policy, that people didn't need to wear masks. They were going to have the 6 feet apart within seats, within your party or whatever. But but apparently there was a lot of backlash, understandably so. And they're saying now they released a new statement saying that people are required to wear masks. So I think that's good on their part. I don't think that no mask thing was going to fly, to be completely honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Especially now, us in Miami.
Yeah, there's a surge in cases everywhere. Why wouldn't you have a mask policy?
Miami-Dade County, where I live, it's like crazy cases. We've peaked every day this week. So Tuesday we peaked, Wednesday and Thursday, and now Friday. Everything's just been peaking of how many cases we're
Florida's the next New York right now, is what they're saying.
Yeah, it's crazy how many people.
Lord.
Yeah,
I just find, even if there was a mask policy and a 6-foot policy in place as far as seats go, I wonder how they even make any money if you're going to be giving up seats like that. But that said, you got to get things in motion. Me personally, I guess if I was to pull the trigger, I would go like right to my seat. I wouldn't go to the concession stand. I'd wear a mask the entire time. But I'm at a point right now where, since there's been surges lately, I'm probably just staying indoors. I don't know that I want to be in 4 walls that aren't my house right now. Me personally, if I'm going to a little, restaurant, it's a joint across the street from me that's got a couple tables outside. I'm not really, and a lot of people are comfortable going indoors, but to what degree? You know what I mean? So I don't know. To go without a mask sounds dangerous to me.
Well, that's the thing is AMC did a reverse course today. They said that they are going to require that everyone wears a mask to come in, and then Regal, right a couple hours later, did the same thing and said, "Okay, yeah, you're going to have to wear a mask to come in here." So I think that's good. I think the thing that really triggered people was AMC in their original statement said they don't want to get into the politics of people wearing masks, having to and having not to wear
silly.
masks.
It's because it's not politics, it's biology. So people are just got to stop. You know what I mean? But they're looking at their fan base, and people are divided on the issue, and so they got to say the right thing and do the right thing. I don't know. It seems crazy. If I ran movie theaters, I'd keep them shut for another month and maybe assess. But that's not my call. I'll keep watching, what I'm watching from home and get as caught up as I can. Yeah, I'm in the Producers Guild, so I get screeners, thank God.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm still trying to get through the screeners from last year.
He still hasn't seen 1917.
No, actually,
he loved that movie. He absolutely. I was the one that was super late on that movie.
Yeah, 17 and
Uncut Gems.
We have that too. What won Best Picture again?
Parasite
and 17 would be my two top films in no particular order. I love them both for different reasons. Uncut would be a close second. If they're 1 and 1A, then for me. I think Parasite's the most unique story. I think Parasite's the most unique story of the year. So that's why I'd probably give it a nod over 17. I haven't seen a story like that in a long time.
I didn't see Parasite until after the Oscars. So the night it won, I was like, fuck it, I got to see this movie. Mind you, it wasn't for lack of trying. It wasn't.
Sure, that's how it goes, man.
It wasn't in the cards for me. Every time that I try to go see it or something, it was like the wrong time. And I didn't, I'm like, oh, I have 3 hours to kill. Let me see if I can go to the movies very quick. It just was never in the cards for me. So when it won, I'm like, all right, it won for a reason. I got to check this out. Yeah. I went upstairs and my buddy had a copy, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna see this movie today. And I started watching it, but what time did the Oscars finish? Like Eastern Standard Time. Like it was almost like midnight starting.
Yeah, pretty late.
Yeah, it was late. So I'm like, all right, I'm not paying attention. I remember starting it and not paying attention, but getting intrigued. Mm-hmm. I had never seen a trailer. I didn't know what the movie was about.
Oh wow, you didn't know anything going in.
Nothing. I went in there.
That's the way to do it.
And then I went in the next day after it won, and you already know, Kyle, I was pulling for Joker. Joker was my favorite film last year. Obviously biased towards the character, but everything for Joker for me just clicked. So I wanted Joker to win. I was very happy to see Joaquin win. However, once I saw Parasite, I'm not even mad that this movie won. Like, there's no way that you can get mad because just like Kaiser said, it's the most unique film. And even as you're watching it, you don't know if it's a comedy, if it's a horror, because it has horror elements, it has drama. It's just a great overall film. I can't wait to review that film in depth. I want to get spoilers, everything, the whole nine in there. I can't wait to talk that film because I think it's an instant classic.
Sure.
That movie.
I was on the Jojo Rabbit 4v
Ferrari. I love Jojo Rabbit.
That was my second favorite film of the year.
Yeah.
Joker, but I hadn't seen Parasite. So Parasite cracked my top 10 after I made my top 10, right?
Jojo was a damn marvel too. I'd say I probably enjoyed that as much as Uncut as well. So there's my 2 and 2B, Jojo and Uncut.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Oscars was good last year. The only one I would have been upset if it won was The Irishman, just because I felt like that was a vastly overrated film.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that movie. We'll all fall asleep just thinking about that movie.
I didn't hate it. I didn't hate that movie, dude.
I didn't hate it. I just didn't love it.
Yeah, I haven't gone back to visit it. And my girlfriend wants to see it.
Because you don't want to go into a coma for 3 hours.
That's what I'm saying. So I didn't know. I was fine. And I saw it in the theater. I didn't even see it at home. I went to the theater to go watch it.
Did you just get back from seeing it?
Yeah, just now.
It's been 2 years.
It's been 2 years. It's been 84 years. No, but honestly, it's how do I say it? Like, I liked it a lot, actually, and I defended it until I saw. It was the first film one of the first Oscar films that I saw that was nominated. But Steph has been wanting to watch it, and I'm like, just go ahead without me, and I'll meet you halfway. I'll see you 2 days later, and we'll finish together. it's a very long. I haven't gone back, and I don't really do that with Scorsese films because I can see, again, we reviewed Wolf of Wall Street. I can see that movie over and over again.
Mhm.
Goodfellas is my number 2 all time. And I can see that movie over and over and over again. And they're lengthy films. They're not as lengthy as Irishman, but yeah, the Irishman is it's a pretty long film, man.
Well, hey, our topic du jour director du jour had a damn good film last year too. I mean, that was my most fun experience, I'd say. Just like as far as living in a world, you know, some movies you just kind of live with the characters, right? That was the most fun world that I would say that I saw. So I loved it saw it in the theater, watched it again on the screener, and look forward for another return. I mean, do I think I need to watch, you know, Brad Pitt drive for 3 minutes through the Beverly Hills or the hills of Hollywood Hills with
Boulevard and all that?
So Quentin can force feed us 3 songs that he thinks we really need to hear? No, I think you can cut that shit out. That's Quentin. He's going to do whatever he wants.
And he can.
He absolutely can.
You can't stop him.
Yeah.
Some filmmakers should do whatever they want. David Lynch's going to do whatever he wants.
I think it's safe to say, yeah, it's safe to say that we can segue to our main topic. We're gonna go in there.
Right.
Unless you want to say anything else.
I just want to
real quick. When you said, "What do you want to talk about next time you come back?" I told you. I said I want to talk about the entire catalog.
I know, and I told him
Tarantino catalog.
The thing is that if we talk his whole filmography, we're gonna be here 2-3 hours.
It's gonna be a marathon, Kyle. It's gonna be the Jerry.
We'll have to do a series of this, Kaiser, where you come on every single time we do like once a month thing. Let's do a Tarantino film. I feel like that could be fun, and it kind of works out that we're starting with the first one. Just one quick thing before we do here. The chat's going crazy. Steve is saying that they're getting ignored in the chat. Him and Ozzy, they don't want to go to theaters. They're saying they don't want to go to theaters. It's not time for them to go to theaters yet. So
yeah, smart.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. If they release Tenet, I'm gonna go.
Exactly.
You know, I wear my mask. I have to see. Tenet is a film. There's one film that I regret not watching in the theater. Well, there's plenty, but in recent time, I still have not. And Kyle knows this. I till this day have not seen Blade Runner 2049 because I missed it in theater.
Yeah, you told me you're holding out till you can see it the right way.
So I see it in a big enough screen at home. So I told you, my cousin has an 80-inch. He has the whole 9, but we just haven't had time to really.
Nolan, have you seen Dunkirk on the big screen?
I still haven't seen Dunkirk.
Oh, Lord Jesus. That's my favorite Nolan film.
I know. Well, this is the thing. He hates it.
I don't like it. I don't like movies with characters.
No. And I know. And I would love to have
what it is. To me, it's more like a documentary. And to me, it's more about it's an experience kind of film. It's like you're riding shotgun in that plane. You're going out on those boats. I think when you're trying to make a movie where you want people to experience such a singular, important, real moment in time, maybe you strip away a little bit of the character work and kind of pay more tribute to the screen and the vibe and the sound. And there's just something. And look, of course, subjective. Nolan's made plenty of great films. I think some of his third acts often fall apart. But I love the film. And I think on the big screen, well, obviously there's a guy who can't count to 4, so we can't take his opinion. I'm just kidding, Steve. I love you, brother. For me, seeing that thing on the big screen with surround sound, it's one of my favorite war films, if not my favorite war film, just because I think Nolan puts you there like no one ever else has. Yeah. You know?
Each film that he puts out is an experience, and you have to go there. And even if you don't like the film, which I think all of his films have story problems.
Absolutely.
But there's still experiences, and he's kind of like, Tarantino in a way, where he's this auteur director who's doing these original ideas, and you just have to go check it out no matter what, because you don't see many movies like that nowadays. You got Wes Anderson, you got Tarantino, you got Nolan, and that's really it right now. So whenever someone puts out an original film, you got to check it out. But let's segue right now into what we're talking about, and that is Quentin Tarantino's first film ever, Reservoir Dogs. We put every single Tarantino film on the poll, and you guys voted for Reservoir Dogs, which I was really surprised at. Jader and I had a little discussion before.
Yeah, no, we always
it's the OG. I could understand that.
No, but we always kind of go like, oh, what do you think is gonna win? And we put like our a little betting round right before the end of the episode. I mean, right before we discuss what we're going to talk about, and none of us had Reservoir Dogs.
No.
I personally wanted to talk Inglourious Bastards, but that film's been talked about a million times. But it's just it's not my favorite Tarantino, but I have so much to say. Like every one of his films. What was in second place?
Kill Bills. It was
Kill
both
Bill, the Kill Bill 1 and 2. Yeah, absolutely.
Mine would be Reservoir or Pulp in no particular order. Give me either one. I'm good.
See, Pulp was actually far down the list. I thought Once Upon a Time in Hollywood had a great chance because it was so recent and barely received any votes.
But I feel that's the reason why it didn't get any votes, because it's been talked about really recently. So why not let's dig into the filmography, and see something older. I honestly thought Pulp Fiction was going to win by a landslide.
Yeah, I would have figured that.
Yeah.
So let's get into Reservoir Dogs right here. 1991, Quentin Tarantino burst onto the scene. This guy who's working at a video store finally got his first film off the ground. And this is the success story every independent filmmaker wants to have. You set out with a dream, you have people behind you who are backing you, and it turns into this massive success story. I found out this film had a $30,000 budget going into it, until Harvey Keitel read the script and said, I want to be producer, and they were able to raise $1.5
I remember Quentin was parlaying all the money he made on for selling the True Romance script, or a good chunk of it. Mm-hmm. He was putting into this film. And I think it was originally going to be like black and white and 16 millimeter and shot in pool halls and friends' places. And yes, you're right. Harvey Keitel came out as a producer, got a bunch of money. And I think this was Lawrence Bender's first film he ever produced, because I know he was working as a grip or gaffer. Mm-hmm. Lawrence Bender was a former professional dancer who got saddled with a very bad injury, got in the film industry in the lighting or grip department, and just became a producer. And I don't know how he and Quentin linked up. I almost wonder if it was by way of Keitel, or if it was serendipitous. Who knows?
I think it was probably through the script. So what I've noticed a lot by going through this is the script people read, and that no matter how much money they were getting paid, they didn't care because they wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So one of the things we do on the show is casting what ifs. We like to talk about like what would have happened. I couldn't find too many except for one interesting one, which was James Woods. Tarantino made 5 cash offers to James Woods' agent, and they were all so far below his what he calls his pay grade, that the agent never even told James Woods about the offers and kept it quiet. Years later, Tarantino and James Woods met, and he told him about all the offers. James Woods immediately called his agent that day and fired him.
Oh, shit. Oh my God.
When you take a look at James Woods' performance in Casino, and no doubt in my mind do I think he fits in the Tarantino cinematic universe seamlessly.
So it's crazy to me. Like, so people saw this movie, they read the script, and they said,
probably
I would have done
Mr.
this
White.
for less money.
I'm guessing James Wood have been Mr. White had they cast him. The Keitel character.
The rumors are Mr. White.
I can actually see Mr. Yellow, man. I can see James Woods playing Michael Madsen's character.
Mr. Yellow, Mr. Blonde, you mean?
Blonde, fucking A. Jesus Christ, dude.
That's all right, Jader. I mean, it's been a long day.
He didn't watch it. Mr. Orange is the rumor. Tim Roth's character.
I
can see that, of course.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I don't know, man. I would have, even though Madsen's been in the majority of Tarantino's films, and I can't see anybody else but Madsen play that character now. But if you're going to tell me James Wood almost got a role, I would have honestly said it would have been Mr. Blonde. That would have been
Tarantino said we'll never know because he loves the actor that played the role, obviously. And he can't say that for every single role here and though, because we'll get to more interesting details as we go along. But someone like Eddie Bunker was barely in the movie because he's a career criminal. And then what's his name? Let me find him real quick. It was Lawrence Tierney. Lawrence Tierney was fired 3 days into shooting. Because Steve Buscemi just revealed on a podcast that every day he would come into work unprepared, wouldn't know his lines, was disrupting the set, and Tarantino got so frustrated with him that he fired him. 3 days.
Fired?
Lawrence Tierney.
Joe.
Yeah, Lawrence. So he fired him, but he's in the movie. So I don't understand.
So he still put him in the movie, but he just. All right, we got your scenes in. That's it.
Because he's not in that many scenes in the film. So I assume
okay.
maybe a day and a half to shoot.
Joe Tierney's an old film noir actor from back in the day. If you go watch a lot of those 40s and 50s film noir flicks, you'll notice Joe Tierney's in a lot of them. And I'm guessing that's probably why Quentin, grabbed him, because he figured he had this film noir icon. He's obviously making a film noir. And so, but he was so great in that film. I mean, I love my favorite. Probably my favorite. And I know you're gonna do this, and you got a list and all that shit. But when when he's assigning the names, and Joe Tierney says, "This ain't a fucking public. This ain't a fucking city hall meeting. You're blonde, you're blue, you're orange." I just love that line when they're arguing, and he just reins them all in. Like, this ain't a fucking city council meeting. He's got that raspy voice. It's beautiful.
Yeah, dude.
Let's start with the opening here. Is like Quentin Tarantino's first thing that he puts out is a breakfast scene between all these guys just sitting at a table.
Dick.
Yes, this is how we're gonna open ourselves to Tarantino.
How many dicks is that? A lot.
And the camera's spinning around the table the entire time, which I think is a really fascinating choice. It's like Tarantino saying right away that, I'm going to show you just what I know in filmmaking, what I wanted to bring to the screen.
I saw two filmmakers. I saw Altman and Cassavetes in that opening scene. I could have gone either way. They felt very organic to me, and hence not cutting the camera, giving everybody their time. I thought it was a beautiful choice, and you're in for a ride when that scene goes in, because he's showing you a 360 perspective of all these crazy characters you're about to live with for another.
Agreed 100%. So how I was introduced to this film was actually my senior year in high school. Wasn't too long ago. And I had a buddy of mine that actually lives out in LA, and he's a big film buff. And we were talking, and I had already had an obsession. I had already seen your Kill Bills and your Pulp Fictions, and what else did he have? He had Jackie Brown, but I think Kill Bill was his latest at that time when I was a senior. And I remember him telling me about Reservoir Dogs, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. And then he goes, dude, this is Tarantino's first film. And I'm like, I could have sworn it was Pulp Fiction. Buddy the next day in school brings me a copy of the DVD, and he goes, if you love film, you need to see this movie. And not only see this movie, he's like, listen to every single word of dialogue.
Yeah, the script is brilliant.
And he goes, this guy starts off with a round table about what Madonna's Like a Virgin is. It was just one of the greatest things I've ever heard. And he goes, and then it goes into this whole no tip thing, which we were servers back then. So we were servers. He was like, you're gonna love this shit. And he goes, and that's how I honestly went home, popped the film in as soon as school was over. And I think that night alone, I saw it about 3 times. I saw it, resaw it, and then I saw it again. As soon as I got off of school.
To your point, it is certainly my favorite Tarantino screenplay, with Pulp probably coming in second. But this is absolutely tops for me as far as his films go, screenplay-wise.
It's fantastic, man. It's fantastic. So, but yeah, the opening scene alone to this film, and it's exactly what you said. He grabs you, and he's like, "This, hold on, this is what we're going at." I don't know if you guys want to, but the introduction happens. They pay the table. You have your slow motion walk. The music starts. The introduction, and then boom, you get hit with a guy being shot and screaming in agony, and you're like, "What the hell is gonna happen?" Like,
well, that's the most fascinating thing about this movie to me is it's a heist film where we don't get to see the heist, and that's low budget filmmaking at its best. Is painting a picture inside the audience.
Yeah. We couldn't break the glass. We couldn't shoot nobody. We just got to see you running away from the scene of the crime.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And it's really fantastic because throughout the film they're describing what happened. I could see Mr. Blonde just going crazy inside the jewel store and firing on people. I can see the cops just pulling and being ready when they first burst out of there. It's such a fascinating portrayal.
But you get that wonderful sound in the background off screen as Roth is running down the street. You hear alarms, you hear cops, you hear people screaming. So it just goes to show you how important sound is in film, and especially when you're a broke filmmaker.
Yeah. Something else I want to bring up is the slow motion walking that Jader just talked about. When you're seeing this, that's been taken so many times from this film. People have recreated that scene. I mean, heck, Tarantino's used it again in his films.
Yeah.
With, Kill Bill, which is one of my favorite scenes in any of his films, is the Orenishi scene where she's introduced walking with her whole posse.
Absolutely.
The thing about that scene is, you can put it this way: when you watch the opening to any Academy Awards and they try and give you like their 1,000 greatest shots or most significant moments and lines and the montage, you'll see this in every one. If they if they had to make one of those montages to sum up the time capsule that is cinema, you might even open up with this one, but it's going to make the cut.
Kaiser, I want to jump to you on this. You have like a relationship with Tarantino and with his producer on this, Lawrence Bender. Tell us, do you have any interesting nuggets, interesting stories revolving around this film specifically, or anything around it?
Nothing. One thing about this film, but it's not a story. Like, here, I'll put it to you this way: I went to San Diego State Film School, so I got my master's, and as I told it before, I got out of film school and I went intern for Morgan Freeman, and then eventually I'd end up working for him for 5 years. But while I was in that intern shuffle, I interned at the Comedy Store. I interned all over town just to get my foot in the door and meet people and all that. I thought I was done. I thought it was over with. No more interning. And a friend of mine says, I can get you an internship at Lawrence Bender's company. And I'm like, maybe I will go work for free for 2 days a week, because I was bartending. And Jader, I'd made enough money to get by doing that, to where I could go answer the phone. And it was a thrill. I'm like, these are my favorite filmmakers. They had just gotten back from. This was at the time when they were just getting back from Cannes for premiering Inglourious Basterds. So the most memorable story of all that involves Tarantino is Lawrence Bender threw a big Memorial Day party, and I was kind of helping staff the thing, like, oh, we'll get this guy to work security and we'll get this guy to do that. And then I'm like, you don't need to hire a bartender. I'll do that. And you don't have to pay me. You don't have to pay me. I'm figuring my charm and good looks will give me tip money anyway. Plus, I know the guest list is going to be stacked. And as a kid who's trying to break into cinema and movies, just, fuck it, you go for it. For it. So I was, I started out bartending, and then they realized whoever was working the front door was just letting anybody in. And so they were like, put Kaiser at the front door. His dad's an umpire. He's an asshole. He doesn't care. And they were smart to do that. You know what I mean? So they gave me the guest list, and I'm the one. And long story short, and I've told this on SEN Live, but I kicked out the ShamWow guy. Tried to get in without. Yeah, he wasn't on the guest list. He put $100 in my pocket. I took the 100 out. I put it in his pocket, and I slapped him on the chest. I'm like, Quentin Tarantino and Lawrence Bender are going to get me a lot further in this town than your $100. Beat it, And then, so at the end of the night, they sent me to the backyard to close down the bar. I had already met Quentin at the front door when he came in. I gave him the whole spiel. Listen, I grew up in pro sports. I'm friends with pro athletes. I'm not that guy, but you're my favorite filmmaker. I love all your films. You're the reason I went to film school. And he was so nice to me. And he talked to me for a good 5 or 6 minutes before he walked in. And the why this is funny is at the end of the night when I'm shutting down the bar and I'm kicking everybody out and not making drinks for Tobey Maguire and whoever else wants one, Tarantino walks to the bar. Tarantino walks to the bar and he looks at me and goes, yeah, got a Red Bull and vodka for your favorite director? And I go, absolutely, absolutely. And everyone's like, what the fuck, dude? Not cool. And I'm like, fuck that, And so he sat there. He had his drink. We bullshitted more. I was like, what are you writing? What are you working on? He's like, well, Kaiser, I'm working on something. I'm not going to tell you what it is. He's like, but I'm writing something. And he was writing Django at the time. And so I got to hang out with him for a little bit. He took a picture with me, and he was just a big old sweetheart. And it was sometimes, how it is. You meet your heroes and they don't turn out to be what you expect. And I think you got to be prepared for that. But this dude was aces to me, and I'll never forget it. And to that note, I do have old stationery from what used to be. Hold on, let's see if we can see it. Okay, so
there it is.
Lawrence Bender Productions is what I was interning for, but before that, they were a band apart. So I got some old A Band Apart, stationery. I think it's shitty lighting going on here. Oh, it says Lawrence. But yeah, so as you can see, it's got the Reservoir Dogs logo. So yeah, man, that's my concise version of my experience with Bender and Quentin.
And what's really stuck out to me is Tarantino, from what I've seen, is he's such a savant of film that you can tell he's done his homework. He's gone back and watched every single genre of every single nationality, and he knows all these.
He is a film fan, dude.
Yes, and he wears his influences on his sleeve. You can see him in all of his films. He doesn't, and this is the thing that people like to criticize him on, which I don't get, is people say he steals. And yeah, he does steal, but he takes it and honors it in a way. Like he takes films that aren't very well known.
Yeah, by the way, he's not the only one to do that since the beginning of cinema. Let's be real.
Yeah,
exactly.
No one's going out and watching those Korean films if Quentin doesn't celebrate them in his and call attention to it. You know what I mean? So if you think about how many films you were introduced to in genres because Tarantino, from kung fu movies to film noir. Like, so if you're celebrating him the right way, who gives a shit? Did he give you a good story? Did you have fun? Did you go home with a smile on your face?
Yeah, that's all you can ask for. And you got to appreciate Tarantino for that. He does like podcasts like these all the time. I know when he was promoting Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he was hopping on all these podcasts and giving these wonderful stories about, like I heard of some good Pulp Fiction stories about how like Lawrence Fishburne was the guy he wanted to play Samuel L. Jackson.
Right.
And how much different his career would have been if he had taken that role and stuff like that. Tarantino's he's always talking about, he's like at Cannes last year, he's talking about how he just finished watching all the Marvel films. Like he's one of us. He's a film fan just like us. And it's really, that's why I feel like we connect to him so much, because he's one of our guys.
Man, he got and he was so talented, and he got into that Sundance Writers Lab, which is really what changed his life, and that's where he got to workshop Reservoir Dogs. So having the tutelage of that whole Sundance program, I'm sure opened a lot of doors, and how he was was able to get that thing produced. But God, he's a great writer. I've read his version of Natural Born Killers, read that screenplay, which is a lot different than the film you all saw.
Yeah. He actually had a little bit of
read True Romance. I've read them all. I've read Pulp. I try to really. When I was so lucky that when I was interning at Bender's company, I had every screenplay there that he ever wrote. So I was able to copy them, take them home and read them, and dissect them.
I wish, dude. I wish.
So for those of you who are watching this and have no idea what Reservoir Dogs is or have never seen it before, just a basic laydown. It's about these jewel thieves who go to perform a heist, and the heist goes completely wrong. And it's kind of them trying to figure out who set them up, what happened, and the aftermath of how all this went down. And tensions rise. They don't know who to trust. And we see we start off with Harvey Keitel and Tim Roth. Tim Roth's bleeding out to death, and it's that scene at the beginning. In the car, especially. We'll get
another scene where the camera's not cutting; it's just going back and forth. I mean, again, literally, but it puts you in again. It puts you there, and again, it's that you do the best with what you've got. You know what I mean? And it just looks so gory and real. I mean, because we've all seen people get shot in the stomach in films, but the way he was screaming and pleading, and the art direction and the whole thing.
He was in true agony. It was
brutal.
One of my favorite things, and it's so fucked up to say that, but it's one of my favorite things in that film. Because
I know
that feels so real. I can only imagine someone being shot and the pleas and the hand grab. Dude, that was so real, and I was like, man, that's it's perfection.
Roth is such a marvel in that film, man.
Yeah.
Jader, I think we should hop into the categories here, because that's going to give us a really good avenue to talk about everything we want to talk about this. So Kaiser, just basically, I don't know if Jader sent you the list.
Let it rip. I took a look at it, but just let it rip.
Yeah, so what we do on this show now is we have a bunch of these categories that's going to allow us to really dive into the film. And the first one we're going to do right now is best scene. What scene do you guys go, if you can only watch one scene in this film, which one do you guys go back to the most? I mean, there's a couple nominees you can throw out there. You have go ahead.
This for me was really hard, because it's
really hard.
It has a lot.
Obvious. I think it's obvious.
But there's two scenes in particular that for me always stand out. And I'm going to go, it's not my choice, but my honorable mention, if you will, is obviously the cop scene with Mr. Blonde.
Okay. That's actually
When he
Yeah.
okay, here's a 5-pointer for you, Jader. Maybe it's a 3-pointer. What is the name of the cop who Michael Madsen cuts his ear off?
You got me right now. No, I don't got it. Go ahead. Go ahead,
on, Kyle.
Marvin, right?
Marvin Nash.
Marvin Nash. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd probably give you Marvin.
Yeah.
See, Jader, you got something to study up on.
No, for sure. No, you can't. I honestly, I'm like 4 old fashions in. Oh, what happened there? Anyway,
we'll keep going.
Yeah. No, I'm like 4 old fashions in, like 3 beers in. So that's why I'm like not right now. But anyways, but my favorite scene, which I don't want to get too spoilery, especially if people
is that a word, spoilery?
Spoilery. It is now. I don't want to get too in detail. But the reveal,
you're fine.
The reveal at the end of the film is hands down my favorite scene in that movie, because I was just as shocked as anybody that saw it for the first time. And every time, I just showed Steph this movie maybe 5 or 6 months ago for the first time.
Oh wow.
She's very like not film savvy. And I showed her that, and she didn't, even till now, she didn't see it coming. Because there's some films where you're like, all right, with time and with other films, I kind of copy and paste or whatever.
I mean, if no one's seen the movie by now, what the fuck?
Well, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of people.
All right, fair enough. I know that's true. I never saw Jaws till college, so I have to admit. And that I'm talking about second time going to college. So yes, you're right, Jader. We do all have those movies.
Yeah, no, and there's some classics that I still haven't seen, which I will not name.
By way of some of these questions you're about to ask, I'm going to ruin some shit. So it is what it is.
But that's what I'm saying. So I didn't want to get too spoilery, like I said, and that's a word right now.
Spoilery.
But the review at the end is till this day my favorite scene. And every time I see that movie, and I've seen it plenty, it gets me the same way, where I'm like, man, what was so and so thinking at that moment? You see,
I could smell the gasoline still,
and you're like, fuck, like me being in that situation, I would probably do the same. I would end the film the exact same way if I was at the shit end of the stick, if you will.
Another good scene where there's the use of long takes, when Blonde exits to go get the gasoline, comes back, very Robert Altman-esque.
Yeah. See, that's my pick for best scene, is definitely the Mr. Blonde torture scene. The one thing I want to talk about the most is my favorite part is the Stuck in the Middle song. I mean, you can't hear that song without thinking of this scene. It's
never again in history.
Never always. Yeah. I hear that song and it's automatic. My brain goes there.
Now, let me throw this out to you. I found this in another interesting fact. Originally, Tarantino was thinking about using Ballroom Blitz for this song during this torture scene, but
he made the right call.
In the middle.
He made the right call.
Yeah.
Ballroom Blitz works really well in Wayne's World, but I think he made the right call.
Cassandra does that
because there is I'm sure that he played that song for Madsen and said, "This is what's going to be playing." There's no way he gets into that groove of that scene if Madsen doesn't have that song in his mind. It is. It's the most iconic scene in the movie. I'll give you guys that. For me, being the comedy nerd I am, my favorite scene is probably when they're all getting their names. And we spoke about it earlier. And you're blue, you're blonde, and you're pink. Why do I got to be Mr. Pink? To me, just the humor in that and just the camaraderie. And I love kind of seeing those guys all on that even playing field. You don't know who's the baddest, and then none of them know each other. It, to me, is just a very cool dance of dialogue, I guess you'll say, and a round robin of figuring out who these characters are. So that'd be my number one.
And especially when that scene takes place, that giving all the names scene, when we already have most of the information we need. We already know who the rat is. We already know what happened to most of these guys during the heist.
Right.
Learn all their names and stuff. You're like, oh, wow. So this is where this guy goes. So where this guy goes. It's
right.
That Lawrence Tierney he's great in that scene, even though he was fired 3 days in.
Right.
That's still kind of mind blowing to me. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that is crazy to me that he got fired 3 days into the shoot.
They really got 3 effective days out of Lawrence Tierney.
Oh yeah.
You just reminded me. That's right. That is such a smart story choice to he shows you his hand. Here's who everybody is. Here's who's what. Now let's go back and show you where they started. That's a very smart just narration technique, which we obviously saw him really key in on with Pulp, but you could see the style forming there,
Yeah. Let's move on to the next category, best line in the movie. What line do you guys think of when you think of this film? I'll start real quick. This one just makes me laugh, and this is why it's my favorite. It's Harvey Keitel holding Tim Roth's hand and going, "You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay." I like that.
I feel like I went to bed hearing that like for the next 3 hours in my head. Oh, you're gonna be okay. He's singing it like it's a kid's song or something. You know what I mean? And I'm sure that was completely improv. I wonder how much of that. I mean, I know Tarantino's obviously a wordsmith, but I wonder how many of those moments that felt improvised. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I got to go with an obvious one. You gonna bark all day, little doggy, or you gonna bite?
You gotta bite.
Is that you, Jader?
Yeah, that was mine. But
cheers to you, Jader.
You guys are like this, bro.
Yeah, we agree. We agree on a lot of things. So
And
the rhythm and the cadence and the way he says it with that beautiful, squinty-eyed Michael Madsen.
And he throws the soda while he's doing that. He kind of tosses it to the side in the middle.
Oh, I love that.
It's good. It's good.
What'd you forget? Your French fries? What's your soda?
No, I finished it.
There's a few honorable mention lines. Like I'm trying to think. Buscemi's got some great ones, in this fucking movie.
You have Keitel saying, "Let's go get a taco." I think that's a fun line.
Good one. Let's go get a taco.
There's Buscemi's got one about tipping that I feel like is really good.
What do you mean you don't tip? I don't tip.
The whole opening scene for me is genius.
Mm-hmm.
You have you're another Mr. Blonde. You're gonna act like a bitch. I'm gonna slap you like a bitch. You really feel that shit. So.
So many good ones. Dick. How many dicks is that? A lot. That's pretty fucking funny, right?
Interesting divide here. There's a line that Keitel has at the beginning of their diner scene is, "If you murder me in your dream, you better wake up and apologize."
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though.
I'm moving that one up. Whoever said that.
Here's the thing with that. Spike Lee used that line in Do the Right Thing, where the three guys who are sitting, we just talked about this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
The three guys
when he steps on his sneakers.
No, it's not that. It's the three guys who sit down and they.
Sweet Dick Willie and the other two guys.
Yeah, those guys. One of them talked about Mike Tyson.
Right.
Mike Tyson. And he's like, Mike Tyson punches me in my dreams. He better wake up and apologize.
That's right.
Spike Lee caught that when he was watching this movie. He caught that line.
For sure.
He was inspired, but it's that's what Tarantino does. All right.
I mean, it obviously it doesn't hold up really well right now. But when Mr. Pink and Mr. White going back and forth, and he's like, "You kill anybody?" He goes, "Oh, just a few cops." No, I mean real people. Like that for me is like I was like, "Holy shit."
No, just cops, no real people. Cops. I love it.
Let's move on. Let's go to the Mahershala Ali Award for Best Sharpshooter. So this is the guy who comes in, has a couple scenes, and then leaves a huge impact through those small scenes. I think I will go here.
Penn. Chris Penn, man.
Oh, okay. Chris Penn's the choice here.
Nice guy, Eddie.
Nice guy, Eddie. I want to say for me, it was. I mean, he's not in a couple scenes, but the sharpshooter for me, at least, like it was Buscemi for me.
Well, he's kind of a.
I think he's in too many scenes to do that.
Yeah, but that's the thing that he is he's in a lot more scenes than.
Do we all agree that this is Tim Roth's movie, and then like after that, it's probably.
Well, we have that award coming. We have that award.
Okay, gotcha.
I think this award goes to Michael Madsen. Because how many scenes does he have? He has the diner scene beginning, which he really doesn't do too much in.
True.
And then he shows up and has the confrontation with Keitel and with Buscemi. And then he has this famous stuck in the middle scene, and then he dies there. And that's really it. But you remember that scene a lot. You remember, this is the crazy guy. He's sitting on top of the van while they're all talking, and I'm just focused on him. Like, what's this psycho gonna do?
Psychopath doing, yeah.
Yeah, and then they all leave, and he goes nuts. So to me, he's the one that sticks with me the most, and that's who I would go with for this award.
See, but I don't know. See, I felt like he was more in the movie than Mr. Pink for some reason.
Oh no, I don't think so. Mr. P.
It's a baby boring fact thing then.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably it. I feel like Mr. Blonde is in the movie way more than Mr. Pink. Mr. Pink comes and goes, you know.
He does, but I feel like he's in there throughout, which is what kind of takes me away from him having this award.
Right.
We can move on though. Let's go to let's do the Gary Oldman Everyone Award for overacting.
The overacting award. You know what's funny? That when I reposted the what film you guys wanted us to review, Kaiser hit me with that GIF. with the everyone gift with
everyone, really and I didn't even know that was that.
No, I know, and that's it's funny. I was gonna actually tell you that shit. It's so fucking funny.
Yes, I mean, so it's obviously in honoring Gary Oldman from The Professional when he screams everyone. It's an amazing scene, but he is overreacting in it, and it's it's not this award isn't an insult. It's to point out this fun little moment. I think this award goes to Tim Roth in the car, just going crazy after he's been shot. I think that is a little bit. He's turning up a little bit there, so I would give it to Tim Roth. What do you guys think about this, though?
That was actually the same scene that I was going to say. It was Tim Roth in the beginning, because as impacting as it is, because I can only imagine someone going through that goddamn pain. I haven't seen it done like Tim Roth.
All right, I got two. One is from a character you'll remember, but it isn't very memorable. But when Tim Roth is having the flashback to he's telling the story about when he almost he had all the drugs on him or whatever, and he walks into the bathroom and there's the cops and they got the dog and he's barking. The cops are telling a story, and the one cop says, and so anyways, we were doing this bust or whatever. He's like, and I said, buddy, I'm going to shoot you in the face. And it almost seems like Quentin must have really told him, he's like, oversell it like a dick cop would say it. You know what I mean? Because it is way oversold, but it's funny and memorable. So that always sticks out to me as some severe overacting. But if we're going to go with one of our main characters, another subtle one, when Mr. White Keitel is yelling at Mr. Blonde and he goes, you almost got me killed, asshole. And the way he calls him an asshole stands out to me. So those are my two.
I love overacting because it's always the thing. You remember it the most in the film. And if they hit it right, it almost becomes iconic. So I think it really works in here. Let's go with the Bill Murray Award for Best Cameo. This one's tougher because I feel like everyone's in it for a good amount of time.
I had the exact same thing. This one was a really tough one for me, and I had actually Nice Guy Eddie for this one.
Yeah, no, I could see that.
So it was Chris Penn's character. I thought he was in there. He did his job. He was an asshole.
You're probably right.
That was my choice.
That's probably the right answer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll take mine back. I side with the hurricane.
Yeah. So Nice Guy Eddie.
Yeah. So my thing is, he's probably the right answer. I went with Eddie Bunker, Mr. Blue, just because he's barely in the movie. He's like the definition of a cameo. He has a couple lines. Tarantino actually added the diner
would be considered a cameo too, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what?
Tarantino that's a cameo. That's actually a great answer right there. Mr. Brown, man.
Especially with the opening scene.
Yeah.
I could see it going to either three of those guys. I'd say Tierney, Penn, which I think is probably the best answer because at the time, Quentin wasn't really shit. So if you got to look at it as a true cameo, you probably got to give it to Nice Guy Eddie, yeah?
Yeah, and Nice Guy Eddie is probably the right answer. But we had to throw out a couple other ones. Let's go with one of our favorite categories here is Apex Mountain. This is a big discussion here. So Apex Mountain is who in this film was at the peak of their powers in their careers. Their career never got better after this and always got worse after. So
that's easy. I'm going to leave this with you to discuss because I got to use the bathroom, but it's definitely Michael Madsen.
that was my answer too.
Michael Madsen's definitely one.
That Michael Madsen was definitely my pick because he was honestly on another level in this role. Mind you, I had already seen Kill Bill. I know people don't remember, but he was in Free Willy. You know, he was in Free Willy. He had done fuck. He had done Donnie Brasco by the time that I saw him. He was in that film. He was in Species. So I had seen him. Thelma and Louise. He was in a couple movies already that I had seen him in, and then nothing. When I think Michael Madsen, I do think Tarantino overall. But for me, when you say Michael Madsen, I automatically go to Reservoir Dogs.
See, yeah, this is definitely his apex mountain, because he really never took off after this as a leading man. You know, he popped up in, like you said, Kill Bill, and then he popped up in Hateful Eight later on. But he was never the biggest star in Hollywood, like this film would lead you to think that he would be, because he stole the screen in this film. So yeah, I think Madsen's definitely deserving of apex mountain. But I think there's a couple other ones in here, definitely. I think Chris Penn. I mean, did he really get better after this?
No. See, what I remember Chris Penn in, there's these movies called Best of the Best. I don't even know if you've heard of these films.
I have heard of Best of the Best. Never seen it.
Best of the Best. So I liked his character in Best of the Best in part one, because part two he's a cameo in part two.
Do we all agree?
So no, we're talking. So I had picked Madsen for this because I told him that, again, I saw this movie late. So when I had originally seen Madsen, I had seen him in like Free Willy, Species, and the first Kill Bill, which he was barely in, to be completely honest. It wasn't until Kill Bill 2 where his character comes back. He was in Thelma and Louise. So there was not a lot of movies, but every time I think Michael Madsen,
it's this one.
I honestly think I think Reservoir Dogs, and I think Stuck in the Middle with You, and I think that scene. That's immediately where my mind goes.
What's up, Joey Moda? Shout out to Joey Moda.
Joey Moda.
Yeah, he's in the chat. This award can go to multiple people too. And like I mentioned, Chris Penn. I think there's a discussion that we should have though for Tim Roth. When is Tim Roth's apex mountain? It's
Planet of the Apes, bro.
Planet of the Apes.
You know what though? Jesus, I never thought about that way, Kyle. You bring up a very interesting point. If you're gonna give him an honorary Academy Award for anything he's ever done in his movie, in his career, it's this movie.
It is his movie. No, and it is his apex mountain. As much as his cameo, for me,
that's a good call, Kyle.
He was a cameo in Pulp Fiction. You know,
he plays Buddy Holly there for 2 seconds.
Yeah, I know Kyle. We both talked about this actually. How much you did not like the Incredible Hulk, but I loved him as a villain in Incredible Hulk. Nowhere near his fucking best, right?
Look at this guy. We got the champs in the house. Kaiser, where are you? You forgot to crack a window in the dungeon. I'm running out of air. Well, you know what? You'd think at this point in his career he'd be able just to run through the wall like the Incredible Hulk. I mean, at least that's what he trained him to do.
Doesn't he smash shit for a living?
I mean, maybe he just doesn't want to, set us back, a $400, $500 bill to call a guy to fix it. So times are tough. We're working with what we got. We got matches over the internet. Smet should have had 3 matches by now. Brought in a nice cash prize to the dungeon. So we're running on fumes.
There you go. But that's actually, Kyle, you kind of hit the nail on the head there, man. That's actually a really, really good call because
I went through his filmography and I couldn't find anything that really made you think, okay, yeah, this is when Tim Roth, he can do whatever he wants in Hollywood. I thought this is the one that people really think about when they think about Tim Roth. He is good in Hulk, but he's not he's not better than Edward Norton. Norton was the star of that film. He's not who you remember.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Smets. Love you too, brother. This is not his apex mountain, but have you seen this movie called Gridlock? He starts with Tupac. Yeah, watch it. It's actually that's a fun watch.
Good film.
It's a fun watch. But yeah, no, honestly, besides his Tarantino work, because he was in 4 Rooms.
Ooh, that's a good film. Damn, that's a damn good performance too.
Yeah, he was in 4 Rooms, which wasn't bad. Again, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
If you think Tarantino, you're good. If you think Tim Roth, you think Reservoir Dogs, and you think obviously the beginning and ending to Pulp Fiction,
which is more or less a cameo.
Yeah, which is a cameo. And that honestly would
Probably win that award.
For me.
If we did, when
Well,
we
a little foreshadowing there, but there you go. That's my answer for that one.
Something else I want to bring up is Oscars in this. So in 1991, obviously this film didn't get nominated for an Oscar, or 92, sorry.
One can, right?
It sure can. But so that year where it came out, the winner was Unforgiven, Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven, which makes sense. Great movie.
The year this film came out, 92, Unforgiven wins Best Picture.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It makes sense.
But this won Venice and the Cannes Film Festival.
Mm-hmm.
Did it win both? That's a big fucking deal.
Yeah, and then didn't get nominated for Best Picture. It went up against Unforgiven went up against The Crying Game, Howard's End, Scent of a Woman, and A Few Good Men, which we're going to do an episode on one day. I love A Few Good Men.
No, we have to talk A Few Good Men. We have to. And I told you I wanted to do courtroom drama, so
we have to, yeah. But does Reservoir Dogs replace any of those films for you for Best Picture that year?
Absolutely. Son of a Woman's way overrated. I've never seen Howard's End, so I can't quite say. I think that's an Anthony Hopkins movie. Crying Game's a good film. I could see why.
I actually think Crying Game is a really good film.
Very good film.
So
everything it got.
Crying Game, I wouldn't take out Crying Game.
I think Crying Game won the screenplay award that year. Best.
Yes, it did. It won Best Screenplay.
That ending, bro. That ending of Crying Game was awesome, dude. I was like,
there you go.
And I saw that at a really young age where I'm like, what's going on here? And
that's a 7-pointer I just hit. What movie won Best Screenplay in the 1992 Academy Awards?
There you go, man.
But it's crazy. This film never got a single Oscar nomination. I think that's just one of those bias against a first-time filmmaker.
For sure. Yeah.
You know how the Academy works, man. It's who you are.
I think Pulp Fiction was his first movie in Hollywood's eyes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it really was.
It didn't take long, though, because look what happened with his very next film.
Yeah.
With his very next
film. He won an Academy Award.
And I feel like it was kind of like it could have been like not saying it wasn't worthy, because Pulp Fiction is arguably his best, but with DiCaprio, how the I'm Sorry award with Revenant, where I don't feel again that DiCaprio deserved it for Revenant, he deserved it for many other pictures beforehand.
I don't know, that's a pretty goddamn good performance, man. Shit.
With Revenant?
Yeah.
No, I don't disagree with you, but I also agree that he should have gotten an Oscar way before he got The Revenant.
For what?
Wolf of Wall Street, absolutely.
Hands down.
Yeah, that was a hell of a film. That's a hell of a film.
And even in The Departed, I loved him in The Departed. You can argue.
I don't like him.
I don't know why people fucking don't like it.
It's a little overrated for me.
We need to do Boston movies one day, because his Boston accent is not very good, and especially going up against
the Boston people's accent in that movie isn't good. It's like they're trying to overdo it.
Yeah,
I'm telling you that I love Matt Damon, but his character in that movie annoyed the shit out of me every time he was on camera.
Wahlberg's the only one who really nails it.
All right. So what's the next question?
So yeah, go ahead.
All right. So let's move on. Some interesting details I found out. Tim Roth's apartment in this film was actually built right above the warehouse where they filmed this. So that's your low budget filmmaking right there.
Wait, that's his real apartment? That's Tim Roth's real apartment at the time?
That's not his real apartment. No, they built the set up there. So they put that $1.5 million to go, here you have the warehouse, and then we're going to go upstairs to film your apartment scenes.
Right.
So,
one second. Literally 2 seconds.
All right. Something else I found out was that they didn't have the permits, the police, to be able to shoot on the roads, to stop the roads. So the scene where Mr. Pink rips the woman out of the car so that he can steal her car, they had to wait till it was a green light for them on that intersection so that they could actually film that.
Holy shit, that's so wild, man.
I know. It's just on the go stuff they had to do.
They made it go. They made it happen. That's wild, dude.
Such a beautiful film, man.
They didn't have the money for costumes, so a lot of the actors had to provide their own costumes, and most notably, like you said, Chris Penn's his jacket, that
jumpsuit. Yeah, Chris Penn looks like every cousin I knew growing up. The nice pair of pants and then the jumpsuit jacket. Like literally in my neighborhood, everyone dressed like that.
I got a fun one right here. Quentin Tarantino originally wanted to play Mr. Pink. He wrote that role for
I heard that. I knew that.
Yeah, and he
And
told
then Buscemi came in. He's like, I got to give it to this guy.
and Buscemi absolutely crushed it, and that's what gave him the role. Which great decision making by Tarantino.
I think he's the best performance in the movie. I don't know if that's one of your questions, but I give him the Academy Award for Best Actor in this film for sure.
If someone has to win an Oscar for Best Acting in this, I would definitely give it to Buscemi. Let's actually move on to this next category right here. What does the sequel to this movie look like?
Well, it's obviously a prequel because the end. I would do an original heist film that involved maybe like Joe, a younger Joe, and a younger Mr. White on a previous job, and I'd throw in like 4 more characters that we've never met before. Let Idris Elba be Mr. Orange, and get like who's the guy? I love him to death. He's in Rogue One. He's the bad guy in all white, and he's in
Ben Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn in there to play Mr. Gold.
Oh, yeah.
I would have 2 original characters younger, and then I'd cast some new blood, and do a similar type film. So it'd be a prequel.
Is there a fugitive style film that you can make with Mr. Pink on the run after that he's got the jewels? Does he get caught after this?
I think that'd be a boring film. I'd do a prequel.
No.
Yeah, because it just doesn't work for me if he's the main. I don't think Mr. Pink needs his own movie is what I'm getting at.
Buscemi's always been great as the supporting guy, the guy who pops up.
I mean, Trees Lounge is a beautiful movie he directed. Weird, but he's great in that, and he's the hero.
What movie I saw for the first time, I want to say right after I won the competition, because I started studying up on films that I had never seen, and I started doing Coen films because I wasn't.
Oh yeah,
I had never seen Fargo before.
Oh my Lord, brother!
And I saw Fargo for the first time.
If Tarantino, like for me, it's like living filmmakers. Tarantino's my favorite. I probably put the Coen Brothers 2, Paul Thomas Anderson 3 for living filmmakers. Yeah. So yeah, go see your Coen, man.
So PTA, I'm not too familiar with either, and I started studying that right before. But I started going into deep diving into Coen.
You got your whole career ahead of you, kid.
Yeah.
I watch your movies.
I know it's great. Don't get me wrong.
Especially if you want me to draft your fucking ass next year.
There you go.
Something else I want to bring up, another category. Is there anything in this film that doesn't make sense to you, that you're kind of confused by? Because
yeah, I got one obvious one. Growing up in an Italian neighborhood around Goombas, why did nice guy Eddie walk in there and whack everybody, go meet his dad, and ride off into the sunset? Like, there's a rat, we don't know who it is, kill them all, and get the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. For me, it's how does Tim Roth lose that much blood and is still able to wake up, great at Michael Madsen, and then he's able to talk until he dies?
That's asking you to suspend a little disbelief, brother, like a lot of movies do. But
it's basically
yes, from a biological and science level, you're 100% right, brother.
Yeah, he should have died a long time ago. I mean, they think he's dead. That's another detail I don't know. Is that Tim Roth had to lay in that fake blood for such a long time that it would dry out, and he gets stuck to it every single day on set.
Oh, that's horrific.
I mean, how long?
Earning his paycheck, man.
You never give a time lapse, right, of how long everything took place in or whatnot? It's never.
I have no idea.
I think it's like a 12-hour span or something.
That's what I figured, to be honest.
6 hours, maybe.
Definitely a couple hours.
Yeah, I guess maybe 6 hours seems about right.
Well, you go from the diner scene in the morning until the cops show up. I'd say that's probably around 5, 6 o'clock in the evening.
I think the end happens at about because it's not completely dark out. I don't think so. Probably like 5, 6 o'clock. The end happens. You'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
End of the day.
It's probably like a 10-hour day. What else? I think so. The last one we have then is who won the movie. I think this is a pretty obvious answer, but we can talk about a couple.
I'm guessing you're leaning Quentin. Why don't you say who won the movie overall, which I think we're all going to agree is Quentin, because nobody, he's like a modern day Shakespeare before he even puts a camera on anybody. But then why don't you go your who won the movie as far as acting?
No, I mean, this includes directing, composing, producing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think we should answer who also won as an actor. So overall, I'll go Quentin.
Yeah, Quentin's
overall, hands down, that's the answer.
Yeah,
Quentin is
because
definitely the answer.
you don't want. This is one of the you do your top 10 list, the best directorial debuts of all time. This one's top 1, 2, 3 for most people. You know, you don't usually get better than this. He was hosting Saturday Night Live after this film came out. He was the guy that everyone's calling. I want to be in a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Wait, Quentin hosted SNL after Reservoir Dogs or after Pulp Fiction?
I believe it was Reservoir
No
Dogs. He was
fucking
a rock
way.
star after
Because
this.
he wasn't a household name then. You know what I mean? It would have to be Pulp.
Let me look
It would
it up.
have to be Pulp.
Let's look it up.
Because I feel like to host SNL, you got to be a household name. He was like the indie darling. He was the next big thing after this.
Okay, so November 11th, 1995. So yeah, this was after Pulp.
It
But
was after
still,
Pulp Fiction.
this launches
Second
his
film.
career.
Absolutely.
This is absolutely like this is the thing that
On
puts
an
him-
international level because he won Venice and Cannes. So the whole world knew how
This
fucking
literally
badass.
just launched this man's career.
Mhm.
Like, gracefully. So again, I was pissed that I saw the movie so late, that I had seen his other films before I saw this one. But even then, it didn't. You know, there's sometimes where you see a film after its time where you're like, oh yeah, no, it's good, but it's not as good as so and so or whatever. Like when I saw Reservoir Dogs, I was even contemplating, dude, is this better than Pulp Fiction? Because it was just mind blowing to me.
I could listen to anybody. I mean, it's such a hard. If I had to say my two favorite, it's these two. But to say my ultimate favorite, I'd probably say Pulp, just because he had all the resources and he had all the tools and things you know a filmmaker really needs. But I still think this is his best script, hands down.
I mean, do you guys want to have that discussion, or you want to say that for a later episode of less like basically?
I got 10 minutes, so you talk about whatever you want.
We probably can't have that discussion. Let's save it for another one. Let's rank our Tarantino movies later down the road.
So who wins for you, Kyle, acting in this film?
Someone I don't think we've really talked about is Harvey Keitel. We haven't talked about him too much, and I think he's the lead in this film, and he 100% holds this movie together. He's the grounded one who's pointing us through what's going on throughout the film. He's taking care of Roth, and he shows that sympathetic side, but he also has that hard ass side where he's going at Michael Madsen.
Yeah.
So I think Keitel is like he's like the dark horse winner of this film after Tarantino.
That's a good argument.
Yeah.
Jay, what do you say?
No, my choice is Tarantino. Tarantino absolutely won.
No, acting wise.
Oh, it's between Buscemi and Cart, and you can even throw Rob.
Same here. It's one of those two.
So many good characters in this movie.
Well, you can only pick one, cousin. Go.
Yeah.
Well, fuck that shit.
Pick one, cousin. You're up. Hot seat.
All right, so I'm gonna go Buscemi, and mostly because the deliverance, the one-liners, everything about his character, the arguments. He was the one that was fucking woke. He was just like, hey, we gotta
trust nobody. Didn't know. Yeah,
we gotta go out. When he tries to tell him his real name, he's like, I don't want to know your real name. It's a job. Everything about like his character for me is just
I concur. While Kyle's probably right.
Yeah.
On a grander scheme. For me personally, the character that I take away from that movie every time I watch it is Buscemi and Mr. Pink. It's just such an awesome performance, and it's an awesome character. I love that he really feels caught between a rock and a hard place. But yeah, the most well fleshed out, rounded character, and whose journey is it? Kyle's absolutely right.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
If you want to do third place, it's Michael Madsen, because he's the best he ever gets in his career. And we're always gonna remember Michael Madsen. But that's going to do it for us this week, guys, on the Jader and Kyle show. Reservoir Dogs.
I don't know if you guys ever, and it has to do with this film, but did you ever hear that he had an idea to make a movie called The Vega Brothers or something of the sort, that it was supposed to be Vincent Vega?
Yeah, there was talk of a Vega Brothers film at one
point.
The
Vega Brothers film, which I'm dying to see, and obviously it's a little too late right now.
Have you guys ever thought about this? We talked about how iconic the opening credits are with the slow motion, the five guys walking. But doesn't that, and again, we're talking about Quentin as borrowing from the greats, doesn't that seem a lot like that scene in Clockwork Orange when the Droogs are walking alongside the banks in slow motion? and then Malcolm McDowell jabs the one, and he goes flying. Like, of course, Kubrick's going to give you that absurd, beautiful moment. But to me, those scenes feel a lot alike. You're seeing the crew. They're in slow motion. They're walking. They're coming at you. Like, it reminds me. Kubrick, I think, is God.
Rooting for the bad guys, too. You have the rooting for the bad guys.
Yeah. They're all bad guys. So
and
that's one little weird thing.
You've seen that in so many films, from Armageddon to
Armageddon. Yeah,
but that's after. That's after. I'm trying to think of.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
where have I seen that before so effectively?
In Con Air
or Reservoir Dogs.
I know you have it.
Con Air came out after Reservoir Dogs.
No. I'm scored. No, Con Air came out in '97. Kyle hasn't seen Con Air actually. No. But
it's fun. It's like going to a carnival.
Yeah, dude, it's a fun film. That's what it is. But there's a scene in that movie where you have all your convicts and the slow motion explosion in the background. It's like the slow fucking motion walk and all that. So they grabbed it, man, and it's there, So
yeah. But that's going to do it for us, guys, this week on the Jader and Kyle Show, episode 11. Kaiser, thanks again for coming back on the show and joining us again. Our first repeat guest.
I love you guys, and shit, I could talk to you guys for another hour if I didn't have, I got to go do a late night with Gucci and Kaiser.
I'm going to join you guys.
Coming up at 8 p.m. on the West Coast, 11 p.m. on the East Coast. Me and my old pal, Bobby Gucci, are going to get loose like we like to do, so... I'm gonna tune in for that. Tune in, but listen, I'll come back anytime you guys want. We can do another Quentin movie. Maybe we should do a Kubrick and switch it up because that's
I'm down.
One of my other gods. So we'll figure it out.
I watched Eyes Wide Shut yesterday again.
I noticed it was on Turner Classic Movies.
Yes,
that's where he gets his films.
Okay, so can I admit something? I admit it took me so long to see Jaws, and I just put on Eraserhead for the first time last night, Kyle, which is also on Turner Classic if you want to watch it. I'm a huge Twin Peaks fan, and Twin Peaks to me is the greatest thing Lynch ever did. But of course I love your Blue Velvets and
Mulholland Drive.
Mulholland Drive, of course, which feels a lot like a Twin Peaks side episode. The one with Nick Cage, Wild at Heart.
Yeah.
But I'd never seen Eraserhead. What a fucking weird movie.
And interesting enough, like we were talking about before, Whitney Seibold, one of his entrances he did was he recreated Eraserhead. He had it's a definitely.
I fell asleep. Sadly, I fell asleep, so I got to pick it up. Got to pick up the last 30 minutes, but
it's an odd.
How dare I not even say The Elephant Man, which is probably Lynch's best film. If you're gonna go AFI with it, it is certainly that movie breaks my heart, put me in tears every time I watch it.
I've seen 3 of his films. I haven't seen all of them. I've seen Elephant Man, I've seen Eraserhead, and I've seen Dune. I haven't seen Mulholland Drive or anything like that.
Well, you got 2 months to do nothing. Like now, start Twin Peaks because that shit. It's like The Sopranos. It has all the time in the world to tell the story, right?
Perfect. Yeah. All right. On that.
So thank you guys all for joining us again, and we'll have a fun show again next week, guys, but tune in. Thank you again, and we'll see you next week on the Jader and Kyle Show.